All right, kids. A Twitter user posted this picture of Erica Kirk with a non-bearded, pun might be intended depending on what I say later, JD Vance, with the caption asking Grok, do these two look related? Grok, which is Twitter's artificial intelligence, said, is actually JD Vance in both. Not related, but the same person. Now, Grok could either be simply remembering when JD Vance did drag in the past, like a lot of Republicans at some point or another because they enjoyed it or were entertained by it, or this AI could be reminding us that our vice president wears makeup all the time. Anyways, I didn't think these two could get any closer than they already are, but they're so close that they actually look alike. Anthony Fantano isn't going nuts. So when Erica Kirk said she prayed she was pregnant with her late husband's baby, some said that she would make a child with JD Vance, not hide it, and claim it to be a miracle. And I guess we know what their offspring would look like if they made it. As for the personality,
these people are like, I saw something, someone's calling me like a PDF. They're saying all these crazy allegations. I'm like, hey, what sucks for them is they're never going to be able to get me. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I'm a virgin. I don't have sex with random girls. You're not going to catch me on no sexual allegation charges. I don't have any addictions. I don't have any vices. So what are these people going to get me for?
Nick Shirley. He's under the impression that the mainstream media can't take shots at him while he gives them ammo about being a 23-year-old virgin. Nick is a YouTuber. You may know him from when he went viral in December with a video claiming to uncover $110 million in alleged fraud by federally funded daycare centers in Minnesota, where he walked around with the camera trying to record children, which is why he's called a PDF. I know him as the reason why Columbus police received several calls about influencers trying to expose Somali daycares, forcing our very small, very Republican governor, Mike DeWine, in very red Ohio to say, hell no, no one should let them in their schools. And if you didn't know, Central Ohio is home to the country's second largest Somali population. So, fuck Nick Shirley. He's on the list. I meant list.
Yeah, that's something I definitely need to think about if I was going to do defamation on specific people and stuff. Like James O'Keefe style, I know he's always having to lawyer up, which I don't want to ever have to.
Defamation. I bet that's what he would say I'm doing to him if he watched this. Like and subscribe, Nick. Grab a dictionary and a thesaurus. Oh, and I maintain the ability to change, alter, or augment the argument I'm making in this episode if it is later revealed that Nick is neuro-divergent on the spectrum or has a real speech impediment. But he can barely speak. In spite of that, a U.S. representative introduced a bill to award Nick with a congressional gold medal. Vice Surrogate Daddy said, this dude has done far more useful journalism than any of the winners of the 2024 Pulitzer Prizes. Actually, Nick refers to himself as an independent journalist. He won't comb through data, he won't read studies, present stats, his analysis doesn't stand up to scrutiny, and he struggles during sit-down interviews. He don't even watch his friends' videos to see what they say.
I thought that was kind of messed up of you to not publicly denounce what happened to Charlie Kirk.
I did.
I never saw anything on Instagram.
What am I supposed to say?
You never shared anything.
I interviewed the guy who was debating him while it happened. And I mentioned a bunch of times that it was horrible and it represented like one of the worst pivots in American politics ever.
And I didn't even watch the interview because I didn't want to watch that.
Surely he can't be this dumb. When Andrew Callahan of Channel 5 on YouTube asked Nick if he thought his Minneapolis expose was being used to distract from the Epstein files, which dropped on or around the same day, December 16th, that the Epstein files dropped, he didn't know.
You're trying to say that it was some coordinated attack to get people's eyes away from Epstein, but the majority of the traffic, it has over 600,000, I think it has over 600,000 likes. So it wasn't just Elon Musk who was sharing the video. It was everyday Americans who were showing that video because they're sick.
I'm not sure of how Elon Musk sharing Nick's video refutes the distract from the Epstein files thing, let alone answers the question. And neither does he. Hasan Piker saw this next clip and said, amongst other things, this is the guy that the VP defended as worthy of a Pulitzer. America is committing intellectual suicide. We are so cooked.
You think are the three most benevolent billionaires?
What do you mean by the word benevolent?
Just well-intentioned, positive billionaires who you think are creating, net positive societal progress.
His first response was Trump, by the way. And yeah, more mispronunciations. Those who base intelligence on grammar and syntax better keep that same energy for little Nicky here. The devil's in the details. Oh, and he replied to Hasan with, never said I'm a genius. Hasan never said he was a genius either. And if you were talking about intellectual suicide, maybe start with using proper punctuation in your sentences. And I know he ain't talking. If you didn't notice, Nick is wearing a hoodie that says Quality Learning Center, but the word learning is missing an N. It comes from a daycare sign in Minnesota, and I know he ain't talking. But Nick sure is proud to make light of their mistake. And you should know that satire is his thing.
Because I do not believe by making satire on the internet commits a crime by any means. And
Okay,
that I
so
don't be going back.
this is a huge revelation. So you were actually doing satire.
In that post,
So it was satire.
is there anything wrong with satire?
1-800-FRAUD to report this imposter. That was Caitlin Robertson confronting Nick about his $175 billion goes a long way. This is in the capital of Ukraine post promoting his own video where he claimed that American taxpayers are funding a Ferris wheel, coffee breaks, and fancy cars, which proves that there isn't currently a war in whichever city he was in.
Where did you go in East Ukraine?
I went to, isn't Bucha East Ukraine? Or I went somewhere where there was Bucha.
Not that he tweets too often, but Nick Shirley had yet to even mention satire on Twitter as of me writing this. So Caitlin will go on to say that Nick reverted to what many propagandists do, making themselves out to be victims. I can show you an example from their interview, but of course there are others.
They came after me. They came after my family. They doxed my entire family.
How did they come after you? Be specific.
Well, they tried to come after me. They tried to debunk all my whole entire story. They then
Who's they?
all the news,
Would you just get more
CNN.
specific? CNN. Who within CNN?
CBS.
Who's the reporter?
I don't even know her name because she's irrelevant. Nobody knows who she is.
Debunking his whole entire story is going after him? He must think that community notes are oppressive. And hey, he didn't know the woman's name at CNN because, as a journalist, he didn't look it up. And if it is true that she's irrelevant, then why is he bringing it up in the first place? Besides, I think he's talking about her.
I wasn't trying to go inside, and there should be a way for somebody to actually be able to call that number and somebody to be able to answer. These aren't real businesses.
But surely you don't think a daycare should just be unlocked. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a
There should be a
daycare.
reception.
No, every daycare is locked.
Their doors are locked. If
And
you
so,
go to a public
okay,
school or
you bring up a
private
fair point.
school,
Then
you
but
have
why
to
can't they
go
actually
through
give me
the
information how to enroll a child?
Whitney Wild, law enforcement correspondent. See how easy that is? Nick Shirley can't truly believe that going to daycares during off hours, pulling on locked doors, complaining about blacked out windows, rolling with like 4 men with no child of theirs in sight to enroll them into daycare, blurring out important messages on said daycare's doors without looking at or showing a single stat, is uncovering $110 million of fraud in one day. Seriously, surely he can't be this dumb. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. However, his fans, subscribers, and supporters, they're buying all this nonsense, which lets me know that the price for entry into the right-wing influencer journalist ecosphere is low. They barely have to say anything of value for their viewers or anything at all.
How many women die every year during childbirth?
Not many.
This country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country. So a lot of women do die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth, yes.
Pearl isn't saying anything. What?
Anna Kasparian of TYT versus Pearl. I had no dog in this fight, but I saw videos of this debate and the Nick Shirley interview on Channel 5 at around the same time. This is the intellectual equivalent of Jake Paul and Andrew Tate losing their respective bouts during the same weekend. And look, talking live in front of an audience is hard. Let's see how Pearl does on her own streams.
I thought about it. I'm like, you can talk like this to men, but I'm bigger than you. I could body you. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. She ain't talking. Going back to Nick Shirley's viewers, or the right in general, someone posted that CNN report from earlier on TikTok with the heading, CNN is so predictable. And even though the cable news network noted that federal law enforcement has been investigating fraud in Minnesota for years and the attorney general, along with the FBI director, has indicted dozens of people by now, CNN saying that they were looking into Shirley's claims and were reaching out to several of the daycares featured in the viral video doesn't matter to not too many people, honestly. But the comment section, intellectual suicide. We are so cooked. So CNN does more research on him than the actual fraud. Embarrassing. CNN is the enemy of this country. Nick Shirley isn't even MAGA. Dude is the most independent investigative journalist there is. Hasan Piker pointing out that Nick can't tie his own shoelaces is met with, not having to tie your laces just frees more time for uncovering fraud from an account that has over 1 million subscribers on X. With takes like that, Richard Hananiah is showing that Nick can't say, spell, or define benevolent. Well, Richard, are you asserting that you know the definition of every word? Every content creator worth their salt has defenders and apologists, whether they're wanted or not. But this one needs them because when he's on his own, he gets destroyed.
I think what you heard today is that the Republicans who control this committee are not actually interested in solving fraud. What they're interested in is telling a story.
This fraud has happened underneath Democrat leader Tim Walz.
Private providers have made government a mark. And so every person running government, Democrats or Republicans, are dealing with the issue of how to keep fraudsters out of our public payment. We're also dealing with veterans. We're dealing with consumers. I hope you're looking at that. If you look at United Health, currently is being charged with defrauding Medicare. You know who runs Medicare? President Trump. Medicaid fraud is a 50-state issue. And so, again, it is not a partisan issue. There are Democrats and Republicans who are sitting in that committee talking about it. But what you did here was the Republican chair say she's not turning information over to the one person in government who can stop payment. And I hope you print that.
Fraud, like Nick Shirley apparently, is out here everywhere. Criminals should be caught, charged, and convicted, yet if Minnesota daycares under Democratic Governor Tim Walz were cleared of wrongdoing, and if Ohio daycares were operating accordingly per Governor DeWine, I get the feeling that only one of these guys will be considered to orchestrate a conspiracy cover-up. Why? Because of someone lacking literacy. Meanwhile, the Department of Children and Youth received a social media tip regarding a child care facility in Columbus on State Route 161. This address has caused concern on social media because the Google Maps image of the address shows a tobacco shop and not a child care facility. After investigating the tip, DCY determined that the Google Maps image was from 2022. The facility did not open as a daycare until earlier last year. Never mind the million more Charlie Kirks. What matters to me right now are the thousands of Nick Shirleys. He has the White House's ear, and mediocre white men's eyes are upon him. The point is, and I can't stress this enough, so much is made about fraud by people who are letting this one slide.
And this, a post viewed by millions on X. Again, falsely claims to show celebrations erupting all across Venezuela. Now this video is recent, but this is actually in Florida. We know this because of details in the background and comparing it with other videos that it's actually this petrol station in the city of Doral.
That fact check video was under Nick's tweet saying, wait a minute, the MSM media, which is redundant, lied to us again. The people of Venezuela actually didn't like being ruled by a narco-terrorist. And I'm certain it was satire or something. In May of 2024, when Nick Shirley was a little bit of a prankster, this must be the satire he was referring to, he paid 6 or so Hispanic day laborers that he found around a Home Depot $20 to stand in front of the White House holding signs that read, "I love Biden and I need a work permit for my family." This was in an effort to get Trump reelected, and Fox News would later pick up Nick's content. An assistant professor quoted in this Reuters article said, "One of the easiest ways to stoke fear in the heart of America is to say there's somebody coming to take something that's yours." Immigration as a subject or a topic will do just that. I'm curious if he's just like his Grok-in-law, JD Vance, if he feels like he has to create stories about migrants. If it means they get attention, that's what he's going to do. There are connections between Nick Shirley's videos and tensions between Minneapolis citizens and ICE. I haven't even mentioned that the source of his Somali fraud campaign is David Hotch. Please look him up. And Nick's mother, Brooker T. Jones on social media, she's a right-wing provocateur. I don't know if she's Nick's manager or producer or handler, but she might pop up to protect him from time to time.
Nukes? We need more nukes.
For the U.S., we got to protect ourselves.
We don't have enough nuclear bombs. Is that a joke? That's a joke. What?
And a lot of the money, well, what do you... Brooker T, you can help. What's your question? My mom's got a question.
Okay.
What's your question for him?
What's the question?
Okay, I'm part of this. So, Kamala Harris now is all of a sudden running on the border. Do you believe that she's going to secure the border?
Brooke Shirley has admitted to feeding her son information and telling him what to say. There's no evidence that he has learned it all or at all. There's a state that starts with the letter M, which has been dealing with the mismanagement of funds by their Department of Human Services and money reserved for temporary assistance for needy families. What's his name? Say it with me, Mississippi. With our current administration, I was hoping that if any Somali individual was proven to have defrauded American taxpayers, they would receive a pardon or clemency or have their sentence commuted. I hear those have been going around lately. Wonder what the difference is. I'll leave a link in the description below of a journalist who lists just a few of them that recently occurred. Speaking of, I'm not with gatekeeping a profession, such as journalism, one that I very much respect. I don't even consider myself a journalist. However, I can tell you the difference between good and bad, real and fake. And I can tell you that satire is dead. With that said, I think we're done here. We're gonna be all right.